The first night Daniel didn't come home, I assumed it was work. He had been stressed lately. Late meetings, endless phone calls, constant complaints about deadlines. When his text came in at 8:47 p.m. saying, "Staying at the office tonight." Big project. I barely questioned it. I reheated dinner and ate alone. That wasn't unusual. But the next night, the same thing happened. Another short message. Still busy. Might be a few days. No explanation. No call. Just those cold, distant words. At first, I tried to be the understanding wife. After 8 years of marriage, I believed trust was the foundation of everything we had built. So I trusted him. But by the third day, something didn't feel right. Daniel had never gone 3 days without calling before. Even during his busiest periods, he would check in, ask how my day was, complain about work. Now, silence. His phone went straight to voicemail. The messages I sent were read hours later, if they were read at all. By the fourth day, anxiety had settled into my chest like a heavy stone. I tried calling his office. They told me something strange. "Daniel hasn't been here all week." The words echoed in my head long after I hung up. If he wasn't at work, then where was he? That night, I barely slept. My mind replayed every strange moment from the past few months. The secret of phone calls. The sudden gym memberships. The way he started guarding his phone like it contained state secrets. And then there were the nights he came home smelling like perfume that definitely wasn't mine. Back then, I told myself I was imagining things. Now the pieces began falling into place. On the fifth day, curiosity turned into determination. I opened our phone account online. Scrolling through the call records, I noticed one number repeating over and over. Late nights, early mornings, dozens of calls, hundreds of texts, the same number. I dialed it. The phone rang twice before a woman answered. "Hello." Her voice was soft, casual, comfortable. The kind of comfort that suggested familiarity. My heart pounded. "Hi," I said calmly. "I'm looking for Daniel." There was a pause. Then she replied casually. "He's in the shower." "Who's this?" The room felt suddenly smaller, hotter, but I forced myself to stay calm. "This is his wife." Silence exploded through the phone. Then the call disconnected. I stared at the screen. That was the moment I knew. My husband hadn't been working late. He had been living with another woman. And suddenly, everything made sense. But instead of screaming, instead of crying, I started planning. Most people imagine betrayal as loud. Screaming matches, throwing plates, dramatic confrontations. But betrayal is usually quiet. It creeps into your life slowly, until one day you realize the person you trusted most has been lying to you for months. That week Daniel was gone. I didn't fall apart. I investigated. The first thing I did was save the phone records. Every call, every message, every timestamp. Then I checked our bank account. 3 charges caught my attention. A luxury hotel downtown. 7 nights. 2 guests. I stared at the screen for a long time. 7 nights. Exactly the amount of time Daniel had disappeared. The hotel had a cancellation policy. None had been used. He had checked in, and he was still there. I decided to visit, not to confront him. Not yet. I needed proof. When I walked into the hotel lobby, the smell of expensive perfume and polished marble filled the air. The receptionist greeted me with a polite smile. "Can I help you?" "Yes," I said calmly. "I believe my husband is staying here." She looked slightly uncomfortable. "I'm sorry, ma'am, we can't give out guest information." That was fine. I already knew the room number from the receipt. So instead, I waited. For 3 hours, I sat in a hotel cafe, watching, waiting. Then I saw them. Daniel walked through the lobby like he didn't have a care in the world. And beside him, a woman, tall, beautiful, laughing at something he said. Her hand rested casually on his arm. The sight felt like a knife sliding slowly into my chest. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Instead, I pulled out my phone and took pictures. Photo after photo. Evidence. Daniel looked happier than I had seen him in months. He kissed her before they entered the elevator. And that was the moment something inside me changed. Not heartbreak, not anger, clarity. If he could betray our marriage so easily, then he didn't deserve another second of my tears. I left the hotel that night with a calm I had never felt before, because now I had everything I needed, and Daniel had no idea what was waiting for him at home. The next 2 days were busy, not emotionally, legally. I met with a divorce lawyer, a very good one. She reviewed the evidence carefully. Photos, receipts, phone records, messages. When she finished, she leaned back in her chair and smiled. This is more than enough. She explained that infidelity could significantly impact the divorce settlement, especially when financial evidence existed. Daniel had paid for the hotel with our joint account, which meant he had used marital money for his affair. Bad move. By the end of the meeting, the paperwork was already started. Divorce documents, property division, financial claims, everything prepared. But I didn't stop there. I packed Daniel's belongings. Every shirt, every shoe, every watch. All of it went into 2 large suitcases. I left them neatly by the front door. On the kitchen table, I placed a thick envelope. Inside were copies of the evidence, photos of him kissing the other woman, hotel receipts, phone records, and the divorce papers. Then I waited. 7 days after he disappeared, Daniel finally came home. I heard his car pull into the driveway. The front door opened, and there he stood, smiling, not apologetic, not nervous, smug. "Well," he said casually, tossing his keys on the table, "you should be grateful I came back." For a moment, I simply looked at him. The man I had loved for 8 years. The man who thought he could betray me and walk back into our home like nothing happened. But I stayed calm. I said nothing. He noticed the suitcases. "Going somewhere," he joked. I folded my hands and looked at him quietly. He smirked, still confident, still arrogant, still believing he controlled the situation. Until I spoke. "Don't worry," I said calmly. "Your bags are packed, and the divorce papers are already waiting." The smirk disappeared instantly. His face froze. "What?" I slid the envelope across the table. He opened it slowly. At first, confusion crossed his face, then recognition, then panic. The photos fell onto the table. The hotel receipt, the call logs, the messages. His hands started shaking. "Where did you?" "I know everything." His confidence collapsed like a house made of cards. "You followed me?" he demanded. "No." I smiled slightly. "You underestimated me." For the first time since walking through the door, Daniel looked afraid. "You're overreacting," he said quickly. "It was just a mistake." "A mistake?" I repeated. "A 7-day mistake?" He tried another tactic. "You're throwing away 8 years of marriage over this." I leaned forward. "No," I said quietly. "You did that." Silence filled the room. He looked at the suitcases, then at the papers, then back at me. "You're serious?" I nodded. "Very." And for the first time since I met him, Daniel had nothing left to say. Daniel didn't leave immediately. At first, he tried everything. Apologies, excuses, promises. "I'll end it." It didn't mean anything. "We can fix this." But something had changed inside me during that week. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. By the next morning, he loaded the suitcases into his car. Before leaving, he looked back at me. For a moment, it seemed like he wanted to say something. But instead, he simply drove away. The house felt strangely peaceful after he left. Quiet, clean, free. A few months later, the divorce was finalized. The evidence had worked exactly as my lawyer predicted. Daniel lost far more than he expected. Half the assets, a large financial settlement, and the house. The last time I saw him was in court. He looked tired, older, defeated. No smug smile, no confidence, just regret. As I walked out of the courthouse, sunlight warmed my face. For the first time in months, I felt something unexpected. Not sadness, not anger, relief. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't screaming. It isn't revenge at all. It's simply knowing your worth and walking away from someone who never deserved it.